Good morning, everyone. It's just a little bit later today because it is Saturday. I thought I'd give you all a lie in, and I'd have one too, so it's fine. Shall we see where we are today? It's day 12, and I wonder if you can remember yesterday, David had become king and he'd done all sorts of things that weren't quite right. But David in his old age turned back to God properly. He realised that he'd done all sorts of things that were wrong, and he said sorry, and he just decided that one day he thought, I'm going to build the biggest and best house for God I could possibly do. And it's going to be a place where people can go and they can remember God and they can keep God in their mind, and they can go and they can reflect and they can take their sacrifices to say that they're sorry to God, and it's going to be amazing. So David started to collect all the things that he'd need. He decided it was going to be bigger and better than anything that he could imagine. So he needed the wood and the bricks and all the things, and inside there was going to be gold and silver and beautiful fabrics. And he got everything ready. But God said to him, David, I don't want you to build this for me. I want your son to build it. So David had got everything ready. David was an old man by this point, and he had to hand over the building of the temple. This is what they were going to call it, the temple, where God would be, his presence would be, and people could go. He had to hand it to his son Solomon. And David was old and he died, and he never saw the temple being built. But Solomon knew that David wanted that. And Solomon was the next king. Let me just show you the brick. So here we are, number 12. There we are, look. There's the house, the temple. You see, Solomon shouldn't have been the very next king. Let me just tell you, because Solomon wasn't the firstborn. Solomon was born to the wife that David stole. Do you remember I told you yesterday? Solomon's mum was Bathsheba, but God had his hand. God wanted Solomon to be the next king. And he spoke to Solomon and said, Solomon, you're going to be a good king. What do you want from me? Now that's an amazing question to be asked, isn't it? Just before Christmas as well. We're thinking about it. What do you want? Ooh, Solomon could have thought, well, I'd quite like a nice palace. I'd quite like lots of money. I'd like lots of food. I'd lots of things to play with and keep me happy. But Solomon didn't say that. He said, I would like to be wise. I would like you to give me wisdom so that I can make the right decisions. And you know, God was so pleased with that answer. He gave him all the money and all the riches and everything else as well. And so Solomon was known in the Bible as being a very wise king. And Solomon did a good job of building the temple. He got it all made, he got his men to do everything, and it was done just as David had wanted it, I'm sure. But, oh dear, haven't there been a lot of buts in all our stories up till now? Everything seems to be going well, the king is listening, the people are listening to God, and then it doesn't happen. So for a long while, the temple was an amazing place. In fact, God was so pleased with it. The Bible tells us that God didn't just stay in heaven to say how good it was. He came down, and he came down in the form of a cloud of smoke and fire. A bit like when Moses had to get across the promised land. We saw that God was in a pillar of cloud and in the smoke, in the fire. And they didn't stay listening. Yes, they went every year to give their sacrifices, but Solomon, again, he stopped listening to God. And something very sad happened. The land all around was taken over, and even the temple was stolen, and the people were stolen. All the gold and the fabric and all the beautiful things were stolen from that temple. And God's people just wandered off just a little bit. And all the way through, though, all the way through our story, we can see that there's a pattern, isn't there? God speaks to them, they listen, they put the things right, and then they forget about God. And then God said send someone else. And I wonder, that pattern can't stay, can it? Are you knowing where we're going? Because God had a plan, and it's all part of his plan, and we are well on our way. Do you know we're on day 12? That's halfway to Christmas Eve, when we find out more about God's plan. Because we're not living in these times now. God doesn't get this cross with us. God never leaves us. God never turns his back and says, right, you've done so much bad, I can't see you. Because we know that Jesus was born, and that's what we're working up to. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow to tell you the next part of the story. See you later. See you tomorrow. Have a good day. Bye.